causes of climate change. So in 2009, there was actually a poll where 10,257 Earth scientists were asked about global warming, and what they got back was 3,146 replies from that. So 96 of the replies, 96% agreed that global warming has risen, and then compared to the pre-1800 levels, and 97.4 identified that human activity was a leading cause of that. And that was from a book I found in the library about, it was called The Inquisition of Climate Science by James Lawrence. And my supporting claims are our Earth has suffered drastic changes that have come from climate change. My second is human activity has made greenhouse gases rise over time, causing the climate change, and then the future of climate change and what the unrepairable changes will happen. So my first supporting claim, I found that in the NASA website, NASA scientist Dr. James Hansen has testified once already urging us to take into consideration more about the climate change that we're facing today. And he testified that he was 99% certain that global warming had begun, and it was time for us to step up and agree to that and really take into consideration what we're going through for our future. And he pretty much stated that the greenhouse effect is powerful and it is here. And then we see shrinking ice sheets have been affecting the natural balance of things. So since 2002, the mass of Greenland has been decreasing. And then today in March 2016, I found in the NASA website a graph where they show all the years, and then it's up to date up to March 2016, and it's at a negative 3,540 gigatons. So that was really scary to see. Ocean acidification has gone up since Industrial Revolution by 30%, and more and more we see absorbed by the ocean. And then we see odd weather patterns that have been going on that increases the rainfall and hurricanes coming decades, according to the comprehensive computer analysis done so far. Climate models indicate an increase in strength of summer monsoons as a result of global warming over the next 100 years. So there seems to be evidence that the hurricanes and their intensity have increased during the last 3 decades in North Atlantic and Western Pacific Oceans. And that was from another book I found by Michael Patrick J. It's called The Climate of Extremes. It's called The Climate of Extremes. And so my second supporting claim is that human activity has made greenhouse gases rise over time, causing the climate change. So studies show that temperatures on Earth have risen 1.4 Fahrenheit degrees since the 20th century. And then burning fossil fuels is one of the main factors that brings climate change. And it is developed by countries who historically have emitted most of the anthropogenic man-made greenhouse gases, as they have been emitting since the start of the Industrial Revolution in the later half of the 18th century. And that was from also a book called Global Warming, A Very Short Introduction. And they also show that projections between 2000 and 2030, the world will emit more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere than between 1750 and 2000. And my third and final supporting claim is the future of the unrepairable damage that would occur. So coping ranges for humans would be challenged and possibly not met. So the coping range that we have today it's just 2 extreme events, but as our weather changes from a new average, more extreme weather events will happen. So therefore, we are not prepared for that when it comes, and the animals wouldn't be as diverse and become extinct. So the impact reports list the following species as those most risk from climate change as a result of global warming: So there's a mountain gorilla in Africa, amphibians that live in the cloud forests of neotropics, and the spectacled bear of Andes. And there's a lot more animals that would go extinct, and there would be less biodiversity. And I found this really good quote in the Inquisition of Climate Change, and it says nature cannot be fooled. And it was a physicist named Richard Feynman who wrote this, so I found it pretty interesting that he would say that.
All right, the proposition's clear. You do have a preview for the audience. I thought you rushed through the first point a little bit, and I couldn't quite get it down, and so I said, that's okay, she's going to get to that point when she presents it in the body of the speech. And I got number one, and then there was no claim. You just went right into the argument for that point. So I know it's some generic argument about the impact or the relationship of CO2 gases to the environment. You've got the stuff about the ice sheets and ocean acidification and odd weather patterns that's going on there. So in essence, you're saying it's having an effect. I just think that it needs to be a little bit clearer. Part of the problem, I think, is that you are rushing a bit, and there's a lot of reading going on, and so when something sounds mechanical, it often doesn't sound very distinct. So that's going to be a presentation issue that you want to work on. Otherwise, organizationally, it was really solid. It was pretty easy to follow. I did think that the third point in the body of the speech, the claim is not really a claim. It just sounds like a label for an issue. I'm not sure what inference it is that you want us to draw, so I think you need to be a little bit more forceful in making a declarative statement there. The evidence, you have good, clear citations for the most part. The one problem that I saw consistently happening is that we got a lot of post citations. So you were telling us where the information came from after you'd given us the information, and it's a little hard to tell sometimes where your inference leads off and where the quote begins. Am I getting a paraphrase of that? Is it a direct quote? Are you giving me their conclusions? It needs to be a little bit sharper, especially when you're quoting people, that it's clear what the quote is. But like I said, I thought that you had some good statistical information, lots of expert testimony, and you gave us the sources for most of that information. The problem with the presentation, as I said before, I think you're reading a little bit too much, and the speech suddenly just stopped. It just felt like you hit the brakes and took a fast exit. There's not really much of a summary. You don't remind us of the point that you're trying to make. You missed the opportunity to sell your argument one more time, and that's something that you want to do at the end of the speech. All right, thank you.